Flights are pricey, planning feels chaotic, and that trip that keeps getting pushed because you're too busy or travel's too expensive. Welcome to Points, Cards, and Travel. I'm Ross, the founder of Itinerary Boss. I've made the mistakes of doing this for 10 plus years so you don't have to. Each week, you'll get practical tools, point strategies, and expert guests with real use cases so you can travel better for way less using points and miles. Quick thing before we bring on our guests, if you're new here, go ahead and grab my free 5 step roadmap to your next free 5 star luxury vacation and the one card that gets you there, which you can find in the show notes. Now, let's bring on our guest and get into it. Welcome back to another episode of World Travel Made Easy. Excited to have you here. If you're a first time listener, welcome. We're excited, and make sure you hit that follow button if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, or subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. That way you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes we have coming out, where we have a few come out each weekly. On today's episode, we're going to dive into why credit card fees sometimes don't matter for business owners. And that's one thing that I hear from a lot of potential clients who are business owners. And a lot of the times they are giving up a ton, a lot of the times millions of points, because they don't want to pay the 3% processing fee where that sometimes vendors will charge, or they just aren't aware of some of the softwares that if a vendor, so if you're, in the real estate industry, or you're getting some work done on your house, or just another vendor that is old school that doesn't take credit cards, that only takes check or cash. There are softwares now that we use both personally and business wise that can help you earn points on your spend. And we want to highlight those and just walk through a couple scenarios, because these are some things that recently we've helped unlock for people, and just change that mindset shift that now people are starting to earn multiple millions of points based on their spend. But that's what we like to do. And we understand that 3% fee sounds painful. You'd rather pay with cash or check. But when you do pay right with credit cards, you're earning valuable points. And if you've listened to a lot of our episodes, if you haven't, make sure you go back over the past 10 to 15, and you can check out some of the different credit card strategies around, what is the value of transferable currencies, what are transfer partners, those ones, because those will speak to, okay, once I'm able to unlock some of these points, maybe it's from, Capital One, American Express, some of your ultimate rewards. Those then can be transferred to transfer partners, and that's where you can get some of those 2 to 5 times points multipliers, that ROI is really going to outweigh the cost. So a lot of times people say, hey, no, we have this 2% cash back card. And, when we ran the cost analysis, it just didn't make sense, because obviously 3% is more than 2%. But if you have transferable travel points that are going to get you, 50 to 90% more value on flights and hotels, that's where it starts to outweigh the cost. And that's where, we help our clients really start to unlock some of the value with earning a lot of those points. So a couple tools that we like and we suggest you check out for personal payments, Plastiq. So that's Plastiq. So you can pay different vendors, contractors on a credit card. So just a quick example, think about, if this episode's helping you out, could you hit that follow or subscribe button, and also leave a quick 5 star rating wherever you're listening? If you're moving in somewhere and you're painting your house, and your painter, only takes cash or check, you can use a credit card. Say that renovation is $5,000, and you decide, hey, you know what? I want to open a new credit card so I can get a welcome offer and get anywhere from 75 to 100 plus thousand points on that. You have the ability to do that. If you cash is tight, and you have a good strategy in place, there are 0% interest credit cards that you can combine those points, whether it's Ultimate Rewards, Capital One Miles, and that's where we'll have some upcoming episodes on how to strategically do that with different card stacks. But that is one other strategy. So definitely, if you do have those type of things coming up, I wouldn't suggest, this is something that I don't do, and I tell others, but I wouldn't suggest just getting the
Value City, the Restoration Hardware, those, any of the mall, co-branded credit cards or J.C. Penney. I don't even know if they're still around, but right, don't get those because, you're not going to earn points there. So highly suggest that, even if you're paying, for example, I just had to do pay off some stuff on my engine, on my boat that had, it was a decent sized payment. I decided to pay that through my Capital One venture and get two times the points on that. So that came out to be a couple thousand points that now I can use to transfer, for a flight versus, just paying that and not getting rewarded on it. Sure, it was, 3%. It was what, $60, something like that. I mean, that's totally fine because I'm getting those points and over time those will accumulate. So on the personal side, pretty straightforward, but just thinking through, hey, are there anything, right? If someone's coming in and doing flooring, for example, I have something like that. So any type, if you're doing housework or just having to pay vendors who only do that, ask them if they can create an invoice. Sometimes they can do it through PayPal as well, but if they can't, Plastiq is going to be your best friend. On the business side, we like Melio, so you can pay vendors that don't accept cards through that. For them, you will have to, when you set up, you do have to choose your entity. So whether that's, an LLC, sole proprietorship, share EIN number, if you're an S, C corp, any of that stuff, and then you upload your business banking info, and then you can go in and add vendors. And a lot of the times it'll ask for, if a company, sometimes it'll, if they are a registered LLC, it will, you can upload that into that. And if you do have recurring payments, say you are working with so say you're doing, for example, house flips and use the same general contractor who only takes cash or check, you could upload them. So then whenever, say you have, you do a flip or you have to pay them for some work, in month one, in month four, you have the same one. They're already uploaded into that system. You already have your card in there. If you're using that same process, you then can upload. All you would just go in is put, we'll just say $1,000 for round number. Hey, I need to pay this person $1,000. Send that over to them. Easy done. So that's the beauty of it. If you do have some of those recurring payments with vendors that you use frequently, you can do that. And also, once you set it up, it's pretty easy. And, that 3% fee is going to completely outweigh the cost. So, just from a numbers perspective, because we've had recently, people who are spending anywhere from 500 plus K a year up to 10 million a year. And we just want to highlight like what are some of the fees versus that. So, for people who are spending 250K, right? That is, so say, for example, they were not using, say they were just doing it on, a debit card, and not doing it. Sure, they're not paying a 3% fee, but they're not earning any points. So if someone is, we'll just use at two times the points, they're earning 500,000 points. That's probably not including a nice welcome offer. So we'll call it 600. That equates to, just at a simple two times the points value, that's around $12,000 of travel. When you start to elevate that to three, four, five times, the math starts to go to 18,000, 24,000, 30,000 of travel value just off, 500, 600,000 points. So that, yeah, then if you start to do multipliers where you have, and that's just on a two times the points card. So if you have a 500K annual spend and you're using a three times the points card, you could be racking up 1.5 million points. So that could be, equate, if you start to do the math there, just times it by two, you're looking at 30, 45, 60, 75. So we're starting to have a little bit more fun. When you get into more of the 1 million spend, you're starting to, if you get, let's just call it, between your different card stacks, you're getting 4 million points. Start to do that math there. It's going to be 80,000 just if you're doing it at two times the point. So that's, and the fees are going to not even come close to what you're going to get when you start to do it at two times the points. We recently shared this with a uh, flipper that we're working with that they do about 580,000 a year in just paying general contractors and labor that they're not putting on any cards and they're not earning any points whatsoever. We map this out and they're going to earn 1.75 million points over the course of 3 years with just a two card simple stack at that 580,000 annual spend. And they, after the 3% fees on there, they're still at a two times the value, are going to get $46,000 of travel. So that's at two times. It's pretty simple redemption. When you start to bake in three, four, five, those numbers start to get a lot more. And that's where, right, leveraging transfer partners, transfer bonuses, those type of things, that is right. And you can go back and listen to those episodes that we created just for those specific reasons. But that's where you'll start to learn more about, oh, this is really what the importance of transferable currencies are. If you have any questions, leave us some comments here. Happy to answer those and right, make sure we direct you to the right episodes that'll help you get started if you are a novice. And if you have any feedback on this, if you are a business owner, if you are in the real estate space, developer, flipper, anyone who's, doing that and paying general contractors with cash or check, leave us a comment, shoot us a DM. We're happy to connect with you and walk you through exactly what we're helping other people do to start helping you travel more. So yeah, just a couple things to, wrap up. Yeah, if you're using a 2% cash back versus a 3% fee, obviously that's not going to work. Even if you're getting 2.5% cash back, same type of thing. The biggest thing is travel points, getting that 2 to 5 cents per point. And just thinking through like, sometimes business class seats for long haul flights, for a simple example, could be $5,000 for 100,000 points. That's the type of earnings that we're going to get you and try to get you. So that's why we recommend, if you are using cash or check, looking into this and getting the right card stack. And that's where we help business owners really map that out with a card stack, set up a strategy and then do points redeeming strategy and happy to help there. And just from a practical guideline, from a personal standpoint, again, just to wrap up, stick to transferable cards. So, you're the big three that we mentioned for business, right? Stack premium cards that have those transferable currencies. And, if you are looking for best cards to get started, go ahead and check out, we have different options for best cards for shopping, best cards for travel, best cards for families, best cards for business owners. And then we have a lot of expert interviews if you want to dive deeper into some inspirational, attainable, and just breakdowns. We have a lot of those as well. So you can go back and check those out. And if there's something that you're wanting to hear that you haven't gotten through these, we've tried to create about 20 to 25 episodes that focus really in on getting started with credit cards, annual fees, some of the big hesitations and just misconceptions that you may have. We want to make sure we're, getting out in front of those, being transparent and helping you out from the beginning. But what we're going to be diving into next will be around, now that the transfer partners, now that, maybe you have your first card, your second card, if you've been following along. Now we're really going to dive into the alliances because as we work with people across the US, people have different hubs and people are going to have, a hub of United, maybe a hub of Delta, maybe a hub of American Airlines. So those have different alliances, like the One World Alliance that's, mainly here in Charlotte where we're at. Got a lot of friends and originally from the Northern Virginia area. So Dulles, you have a United hub or Star Alliance. And then we have clients who are out of Minneapolis who have asked around the Sky Miles and Delta. So we're going to create those and do a deeper dive into who are some of those transfer partners, right? Where some of the best reward redemption rates, and also who transfers those and how can you leverage some of those transfer bonuses. So definitely go back. If all of this is a foreign language, right? I suggest going back and just getting started from, why credit cards are game changers for travel. That's a bunch of episodes back. And then from there, just getting started. We've tried to create these quick 10, 15 20-minute episodes to help guide you and get you on the path. And again, let us know in the comments if you have any feedback, questions, if there's anything else you'd like us to talk about. And appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, make sure you give us a follow, subscribe. That way you don't miss any upcoming episodes. Share with a family or friend or business owner who you think this would be valuable for. And, make sure you give us a 5-star review. That's how we continue to do the show, grow the show, and keep bringing value to you. We will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Really appreciate you tuning in today. Before you go, again, if you're new here, grab my free 5-step roadmap to your next free 5-star luxury vacation and the one card that gets you there in the show notes. The main takeaway from today is you don't need more time or money to travel better. You just need a simple plan and the right strategy in place. My final thought is travel is supposed to feel exciting, not overwhelming. Take one thing you learned today, apply it this week, and your next trip gets easier starting now. We'll see you next episode. Really appreciate you tuning in.